Hello friends, this is Grappa. I got a haircut and I have some suitcases in the back and a new dinosaur. Don't worry about it. And anyway, so lately there have been a ton of tier list videos. So I thought, yes, free content. I too shall make a tier list video. But in order to stand out, I thought, what kind of tier list should I make? And so I decided to just completely be a meme and decided let's make the worst Esper tier list. Okay, these are the Espers which I would recommend to almost never upgrade until like your super late game, mid-late game or whatever, because they're really niche, they're not very flexible or adaptable, they suck, or any other reason in between. Now, for a disclaimer, this is all just for the funs and lulz, and this is just my opinion, okay? So if you like these Espers because you like them for a specific reason or you just find them cool, you can invest in them, you can love them, that's perfectly fine. But in terms of gameplay, I think that these are the Espers that you should invest in like kind of last. Like you really wouldn't ever use, like you can go your whole 365 days in Dislyte and not use them, basically. So with that out of the way, let's go on to the tier list. Now I've separated this into a few categories and we're gonna slowly inch up. Now I already had like a ton of these Espers here, so you could probably just like check, but whatever. Moving on, let's go to the honorable mentions. Okay, so these are the honorable mentions already. So if you think that there are Espers worse than this, those are the vibes, okay? So we're gonna first start with Dalen. Now Dalen's pretty cool. He's actually a really decent Esper, especially because he has some nice skills. So he has like the bleed, he does have the stun and defense down on his S2, but it's really where his S3 kinda sucks. Now if you have him ascended, you will know that his S3 actually dispels all buffs and debuffs from the targets, and the targets are the enemies. So you will dispel all of their buffs, but you'll also dispel all their debuffs, which means if you have them stunned, well, Dalen's gonna remove their stun, which is why he's kind of pretty bad in my opinion. So that's just kind of like a test in the water of why I put Dalen here. He almost made it to the list, but he didn't exactly quite make it. Now the next is gonna be Tever. Tever is actually a pretty good unit, okay? Not gonna lie, he's actually a pretty decent unit for what he's worth. But here's the thing, he's only gonna be decent at R2. Because at R2 his Nico Curse, and I'm sorry I don't own him, but at R2 his Nico Curse will not be needed. It'll just basically go off by itself, right? You don't need to actually kill the target anymore because Nico Curse is upon the carrier's death, the effect is removed and then deals the damage to all the allies. But if you don't die, like for example in bosses, she's kind of really bad. So he's only pretty good at R2, where the Nico burst doesn't even need to be killed. The person with the debuff doesn't need to be killed. They just need to be attacked. And even then, he's not really that good, okay? So this is not him being bad. It's more of him being bad for a Shimmer Legendary, okay? So let's just put it that way, alright? So that's why I put him into honorable mentions. Next, we have Nick. Now, Nick is not that bad. I'm not gonna lie. Nick has his uses. But here's the thing about Nick, right? He's not consistent and you don't really find a use for him. So for example, his S3 is attacks all enemies, damage, and then dispels enemy shields. Specifically shields. Now why would you want to do that when you can just dispel the entire buffs, or any buff for that matter? So there are other units there that can just dispel. So, okay, fine, you dispel the enemy shield and then you inflict silence. Okay, cool, and then each enemy silence grants Nick some AP. So he kind of gets like an AP reduce on using, an AP return on using the skill. That's not that bad. But that's not that useful either. Like, what will dispelling shields? And then it's silence, so silence is not really that good of a buff either. So it's just kind of, yeah, we got him for free almost like the longest time ago, but I've never really seen him get used. You don't really, what is he doing, right? Like, what is he specifically doing that you can't just let someone else do, basically? Like, yeah, he has the increased cooldowns and whatnot, but you can just let Pritzker do that or whatever. He's just a really, really weird unit overall. Like, you just don't have a use for him. Next is gonna be Bryn. Now, I wanted to put Bryn here because I wanted like another rare Esper. Honestly, she's not that bad. She has a lot of saving graces. I just wanted to put a rare Esper in here, but I think the worst thing about her is the fact that she doesn't do anything well. She's supposed to be like this pseudo everything, right? She has a bit of DPS, she has a bit of control, she has a bit of support. It's just kind of like, well, where is she really, right? She's not a good DPS by any means. She only has one stun, one freeze on her skill, and then she has the attack up for everyone, which, I mean, the attack up is nice, but then someone else can do it. So she's just like the type of character that is trying to do too many things, and she can't do any of them really good. But don't hate on her. Like, she's like one of our first Espers in the game. She's fine. Like, she's not gonna be. And then lastly, for the honorable mentions, I'm going to put in Kaylee. Now, Kaylee, I really don't like her because, okay, yeah, you can find some uses for her, especially for the multi-freeze in, like, the flow tower or the flow pillar. But aside from that, she's just not that good because she has to be built with crit rate. And it's really, really weird because why would you want your controller to have crit rate? I don't know. She's just like, she had an idea, she had like this whole fantasy of freezing upon crit rate, but because you have to crit in order to freeze, you're not freezing well, and then you're not really all that consistent either, and then it's like, oh, you minus their AP, and then yeah, at R6 you even steal that AP, but it's like, it's not that good. It's not that good at all. Anyway, moving on. All right. So, we're gonna start off with the actual tier list. Like, oh wow, I've been talking that long for just the honorable mentions, whatever. We're gonna speed through this a bit more because, yeah, I kind of showed that. Alright, so, here are the worst 3-star Espers, and we're just gonna go this really fast. Bailey is actually this really, really weird Esper who doesn't have that much use because she will try to remove her own buffs, and then she'll try to steal some buffs here and there as well. But, at the end of the day, she doesn't do that much. I even have her maxed out for some reason because I was gonna try to do something with her. But yeah, she removes a debuff from herself and then she tries to like do this like Gaius-esque attack. But it just doesn't really add up and do all that much at the end of the day. And there are other 3-stars that do anything better. And these are the worst 3-stars, okay? So we're comparing them to other 3-stars. And among the 3-stars, yeah, Bailey just kind of sucks. Next up we have is David. Now David's actually not that bad of an Esper, but he's just outshined by the fact that he, again, does not do that much, even, like, as a 3-star Esper. Now, as a 3-star Esper, he does have this nice, really nice 100% attack down, but that's kind of where it ends because he has this stealing buffs kit, but it doesn't really work out for him because, like, you don't really want to center your whole kit around stealing buffs because what if the enemies just don't have any buffs? Well, then, suddenly, you're a useless Esper. Even his passive is like, he tries to taunt the enemy, but it's like, taunt is not that good, and like, he doesn't have any reason to want to get hit, because he doesn't like, give himself defense up, he doesn't like, you know, make himself invulnerable or anything. Like, for example, Ollie wants to get hit because he has the invulnerability, right? But like, David doesn't really want to get hit, so I don't understand what's the point of taunting at all. You're still gonna take the same amount of damage, it's just kind of like, whatever. Moving on, we have John. Now, John is actually this really, like, chill vibe Esper. She's actually really, really powerful because she has some pretty consistent stuns, and she has stuns on almost her entire kit. And if you pair that well with, like, Tyranny of Zeus, she can stun pretty reliably. The only thing that's really bad about her is that that's all she does. And again, this is, like, all they do, right? She isn't that bad, actually. Like, John is actually, like, a pretty good Esper. But the thing is, like, any other controller is better for the most part. Like, almost literally every single other Esper has better control because all she does is control and stun. She doesn't have any utility aside from that. Other Espers that are controllers have utility or can do something outside of just stunning while being able to control, which is what really makes them nice, while John can only just really do that, which is not that great. Next is, I don't even know how to explain this. I think Layla is actually the worst Esper in the game. Like, she's legitimately the worst Esper in the game. She just does not do much. She has a 40% chance to stun, which is horrible. She has a 75% chance of inflicting disease, and then if they are poisoned, she will damage more and then transfer one debuff from each ally to the target. It's not that good, honestly. And then she has this really low damaging thing that tries to poison, but it's on a 4-turn cooldown, so it's like every 4 turns you're gonna put at most 2 poisons, and it's like other units can just poison them like every turn on their path. It's just really bad. Layla is really, really bad. Desperately needs a rework. Needs to do something. I don't even know what she does. Like, she's like this literal... I don't even know what she is. She's just... Is this a she? Is this a he? I don't even know. Okay, that has nothing to do with like the actual Esper, so I'm really sorry. But yeah. And lastly is Zelmer. Actually, Zelmer is actually a pretty good unit. And in the past, she did have a place to because she had this insane H debuff on the enemy. Damages plus 20% up, but they created a cap on this. Now it's at plus 120. But before there was no cap, so you could have like 10 debuffs on the boss and just increase her damage by plus 200. But ever since they nerfed her there, I guess everyone has just kind of forgotten about her basically. So yeah, she's really bad. Moving on, I think you guys can guess this, but the next is the worst 4 stars. Woo! I am I'm running on coffee. Next up is Daniel. Now, okay, Daniel's was a free Esper that we got recently from, I think, the championship event. And so he's actually not that bad, right? Especially at R6, he kind of does pick up some steam. But the thing is, you can't actually get him to R6 at the moment unless you... I don't even know where the heck he is. Unless you cracked out super hard in the championship. I don't think he's out yet as a 4-star that you can summon. So you actually just can't get him at R6. And at R6, he's really, really nice because he has this Centaur's Blessing gains 1 turn. It's basically like, you know, Sienna or Pandora, where their 3rd skill will... Oh, no, it's his 2nd skill that will give him an extra turn. Oh wow, that's actually really bad. That's actually worse than I thought. So okay, his basic idea is that he will sacrifice his health for benefits for the team or to do damage, right? But that entire concept really sucks, and he doesn't execute it that well. So current and HP minus 10%, so he just loses 10% of his HP. Attacks all enemies, and then damage per hit is 2% of Daniel's max HP, which is really bad. And then each hit has a 50% of inflicting minus 20%. And if the enemy's HP percentage is above Daniel's, inflict stun. There's too many conditions. So here's the thing, right? If you build him with a ton of HP, he will do more damage, but it's going to be harder to heal him up. Because like if he has 40,000 HP, he will use 4,000 HP. And then like because he loses minus 10%, so you have to heal 4,000 HP. But if you build him with only like 20,000 HP, he'll only lose 10,000 HP, and then it's easier to heal him up. So in order to do more damage, you actually make it harder for your own team to sustain your own Daniel. And then aside from that, it's just a 50% up to 60% chance of inflicting minus 20%, so it's minus 40% at most. And that's not even the best. And then if the enemy's HP percentage is above Daniel, so if it's above Daniel after you did the damage, you're gonna stun them. So it's like there's just too many conditions. So it's like, what if you do damage them below his health? Then suddenly you don't even get the stun. So it's like, it's just really bad. And by the way, he always uses his S3 first, I believe. So you're gonna lead with this bad skill. You're gonna lead with the bad skill, which is not that good, okay? Now this S2, his Centaur's Blessing, is actually his best skill. And it's honestly a reason why a lot of people actually placed him higher or thought that he was really good. And honestly, this skill is not that bad. So in return for losing 20% of his HP, all allies gain attack up, which is really, really nice, and a shield, and that shield is 20% of Daniel's max HP. So effectively, you don't actually lose anything if they attack into you, because you're just like at 100% HP technically anyway. The benefit is you give everyone attack up, and then you give everyone else that shield. So even units that were not Daniel will get that shield. The problem is that one, Daniel himself doesn't actually benefit from this attack up, because as you've seen, he scales off of his max HP damage. So this attack up is useless on him. And another thing is that if you don't attack the shield, which I don't know why you would attack Daniel in the first place, because he's going to be pretty tanky, you would want to attack someone else. So you are essentially losing out on your own HP. Now obviously this works better for like if you're going against AoE damage and stuff like that, but it's just kind of like, well, yeah, it's like it's not that big of a benefit, especially to Daniel himself. And there are other units that can just give a shield or just give an attack up much more effectively rather than Daniel. And again, you can't get him at R6, so even if you can use this skill and then gain an extra turn, it's not that good. And again, his AI also uses his S3 first, which is even worse, because it's like, okay, you're attacking first, but you really want to buff first because you're supposedly a support controller thing. I don't know. And then damage, silence, and then recovery. It's like, okay, yeah, if you inflict the silence, he gets recovery, but then he has to take another turn in order to actually, and then you have to use S1 first in order for it to work. It's just all sorts of load of not goodness. So yeah. Moving on, Chongnan, which is a guy that I just actually recently summoned in my whatever summoning video that happened like a week ago or whatever. I don't like him. He sucks. I haven't built him at all, as you can see, because I just don't see anywhere that he would be useful. His entire kit is built around silence, and silence is not that good of a debuff because it still allows units to attack with their basic attack, and basic attacks are not that horrible in this game. And aside from that, they still get to choose who they're going to attack with the basic attack, so they can still focus down a unit and whatnot. Overall, he is not that good at all because he just, what's the point of silence? Yeah, there just really isn't any point, because if you're outspeeding, like for example in PvP, if you're outspeeding someone, you would rather just stun them. Why would you silence them, right? And if you're using this in PvE, I don't think you can even silence them. Or if you can silence them, like again, you should just prefer to stun them. It's like there are so few scenarios where this is actually any good, and there's no actual benefit to using him over someone else, and he is a 4-star shimmer, which makes him even worse. It's like you pull and then you want like a Laura or like someone else, or not Laura, or like a Lin Xiao or like an Alice, and then you get Chongnan, and it's just like, what am I supposed to do with this? I don't know, it's not that bad. He's not that good, I mean, sorry. Moving on is Jacob. Now Jacob is horrible because I'm sorry, I'm very mean, okay? And I'm very mean because I just want all these units to get like a rework or to have some viability, right? They have gotten to a point in this game where every Esper, it was actually really hard to make this worst Esper tier list, because so many different Espers have some use, some niche, some content where you can say that they are good. And it was really hard, and after the worst 4 stars, obviously it's going to be the worst 5 stars. In the worst 5 stars, all the 5 stars have some niche. So you can use them, but they're the worst of the 5 stars. But these 4 stars, literally, you cannot use them. You cannot use them. There are so few scenarios where you can use them. And Jacob is another one of those. So Jacob, his main selling point, right? He has this, okay, poison, 1 attack, whatever, sure. And then he has this, okay, poison, and then if they're poisoned, you can petrify them. Okay, sure, whatever. His main selling point is this, the Fangs. Now what the Fangs do is it's basically you can't be poisoned, and if they attack into you, they get poisoned. Now, with what content would you want to avoid getting poisoned? I wonder. It's not as if there's a giant snake in the Ritual Miracles that's really hard and counterattacks us often and poisons us, and them poisoning us is how we lose that content. It's not like that exists, right? Right? So he doesn't work in APEP. For some reason, he doesn't work in APEP. He doesn't resist the poison, they still get poisoned, and then he still gets dispelled, and then he can't even poison APEP back. So it's just so many reasons of just why? Why does Jacob exist? Why are you a character? Why? You even have a snake, but that snake is useless against APEP. Okay. Moving on. Aurelius. Now, I don't even have Aurelius built fully. Aurelius is... Okay, the main reason why Aurelius sucks, right, guys? The main reason why he sucks is that if he is not at R6, you see this text, damages all enemies 2 times. Damage is 40% per hit. The first inflicts freeze, right? The first inflicts freeze. But the second hit, if he's not at R6, will remove said freeze and then do damage. Oh my god. It's like you're worsening your own team. You're debuffing your own team. This is an Esper that does stuff for the enemy team. Like, he's actually like the 6th unit for the enemy team. That type of deal. Like, he's not good. He's not your ally. He is horrible. And the only reason why it doesn't say that here is because I have mine at R6, and at R6, yep, you see it, no longer removes the freeze. Whoa. Oh wait, no, it's here in the Iceberg Fury. Never mind. It's not the 3rd skill. It's the 2nd skill. But still, man, like, it's like you remove the freeze to do more damage, but then his damage sucks. Like, I would understand if he dealt insane amounts of damage if you remove the freeze, right? Like, okay, they're frozen, and then you remove the freeze, and then like you one-shot them or something like that. Like it's like an Exodia piece. You have to align everything so that like, oh, you can do something really bad to a target. But no, she just does subpar damage, and most other DPS, even like 3-star DPS, will do better damage than this. Chalmers, Tangyun, like Drew, Freddy, everyone will do so much better damage than this skill, because it's only on a 40% attack multiplier, and then the extra damage is just 40%. So in total, this skill does 120% attack. That's bad. Freddy does more. Drew does more. Tang Yun does more. I'm pretty sure some supports do more. This is bad. I'm sorry, Aurelius, you're not bad. And lastly, Arcana. Now, actually, Arcana has a lot of stuff in his kit that makes him somewhat like there's like a place. There's like a chance. There's a place and time, you know? It's like Professor Oak. There's a place and time. But I think the main problem with him is his consistency. He's like a magician, right? He's like Houdini. You don't know what he's gonna do next. And that's true for his skills. You don't know what he's gonna do next. Look at this. Attack down, only 60% chance. Stun, only a 60% chance. And then his S3 is attacks one enemy, steals one buff from each enemy. 50% chance of inflicting misrate up. It's just not that good. It's just not that good. And misrate up is actually a pretty decent debuff. Like it's one of the more underrated debuffs in my opinion. So I actually really like misrate up. But the thing is that because it's only a 50% chance to apply, and then like it's only a 50% chance to apply in the attack down, you can't even use him as a reliable debuffer in terms of like Sentinel Hunt or something like that, because you can't count on him to land his debuffs. And in content where you can steal debuffs, you might as well just dispel it or use someone else or just kill them or just lots of other things that like, yeah, so not that good. Wow, this video is taking so long. Holy cow, I talk so much. Do you ever just think about that? Like you talk so much. Anyway, okay. These are the worst 5 stars in my opinion. Now, all these 5 stars, except Ife, has a place, has a use. They have a place and like they're useful somewhere. But the thing is, they just kind of suck because they either don't do their job well, or in the different contents they're easily replaceable and you don't really need to invest in a 5-star. Maybe a 4-star could be better, or different reasons like that. So these are, in my opinion, the worst legendaries, and I wouldn't say not to ever invest in these legendaries, especially because some of them actually do have places that are very unique. Like for example, Biondina, she's very good in Dark Starlord and Sentinel Hunt, but it's just like you can live with them until you get like to the end game, or until you get to those specific content. So for example, Ife is just this really weird poisoning Esper, and honestly, even in like Dark Starlord, which is like sort of the main content where she is good in, you can just not use her. You can just use Kara. In terms of applying these attack downs, you can just let Hall do that, and then Hall will actually do more poisons, I think, over time if you have a faster team. And then in terms of the speed down, you can just let Kara apply that, so you don't actually even need Ife. And like, yeah, she's kind of decent in the Burning Pillar. That's the only place that I say that she's pretty unique, but again, like, she's replaceable. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Next up is Elliot. Now the thing about Elliot is he was like the Jiang Zuli counter. He was like really meant for that, but he just doesn't do anything well. He's like, okay, you can dispel all debuffs and then extend their ability cooldowns to the max, but it's like, this is only on one target, so it's not that good. And if this was like, you know, the whole team, then you could just use a dispeller and then use a cooldown resetter. I don't know, it's just not good. And then yeah, he gets this up pretty often and there's like some damage here, but it's just not that good, honestly. Like, and then he does have some taunt, but again, it's like, this taunt is actually pretty good because it'll force them to attack him, and then at Ascension this will reduce the cooldown, but it's just not that good. Although I will say that the taunt is actually pretty useful in content, like for example in Infinity Tower, where if they cannot be controlled, taunt is nice because since they can't be stunned, you have to find a way to control them. So I think that's like the only place that I think he has any use, and maybe some very specific holo battle, niche holo battle usage. But yeah, overall, not that good. Narmer used to be actually really great and really awesome and really freaking good. And honestly, I fully skilled him up trying to use him, and I thought that there was a place for him, but honestly, not that good, man. Especially if you get him at R2, if you're very unlucky. This will actually make him harder to proc. This is actually kind of a nerf. I mean, it's like good because you do more damage, but it's bad because it's harder to get those stacks. And yeah, I mean, it's not that bad, honestly. Like, there is no downside to having more stacks anyway. But it's like, just why? Just why? I mean, okay, never mind. This is not that really bad of a nerf. Upon casting a Blazing gains 2 burning stacks, it's not that bad of a nerf. But yeah, honestly, Narmer just does not pack the same punch that he used to, and he's just getting left in the dust, honestly. And because of the HP buff in PvP, this ignore 40% defense isn't actually as good as it used to be. And it used to be a lot stronger, and armor used to be a lot better there, but now he's just not that good, honestly. This is kind of sad. Next, in my opinion, is Biondina. Biondina, again, she does have, and again, all these 5-star Espers have like some niche usage because they are a 5-star Esper. But Biondina is among one of the worst 5 stars in the game, and I do not ever recommend you fully investing into her or trying too hard to put effort into her because she isn't that good. Basically, she's the Esper that will crush all enemy Espers that have a ton of defense. Yeah, those don't exist anymore in this game. Everything in this game right now is about HP. So her doing a ton of damage to defense does not really do anything. And look at this. Attacks all enemies. 20% of attack. See, even the sky is loud. If you can hear that, there's thunder. But yeah, not that good. She's a meme. The best thing she does is apply buff blocker on her S1. That's the best thing she does. The dispel is not that good. The damage is not that good. Not that good. Mermaid Lady, not that good. Lastly is what's his face? Sorry, not what's his face. I got a mean comment about that. I'm sorry, I will not call people what's his face. Donar. Donar is actually pretty decent. But he's replaceable. He's replaceable. In Count de Sonica, a lot of people will use Joser instead. I'm one of the few people who like to be weird and use Donar. But it's just not that good. Like he doesn't do that much damage anymore. The defense scaling isn't that good in this meta game anymore because HP scaling is so much better. He doesn't do that much damage. Yeah, and he still has these weird like 80% attack plus 100% defense multipliers. His multipliers have fallen behind. His whole trying to get hit and then conduct is just not that good anymore. It's just lots of things, and yeah, he's just not that great as a 5-star Esper. I mean, you can use him, but the only place that you can use him right now really realistically is PvP, and in PvP there are better options like Hyde or Everett or even another controller or healer sometimes are better. Yeah, Donor just does not stack up. So yeah. And lastly, to close out this video, just shy of 30 minutes because I have been talking for so long, the absolute worst Esper in the game. I saved them for last. Can you guys guess? Comment down below if you can guess who the worst Esper in the game, in my opinion, is. It can be a 3-star, 4-star, or 5-star, but they are undoubtedly the worst Esper in the game. Are you ready for this? In 3, 2, 1, it is... Yep.